Okay. Okay, so let's talk about it then. Let's talk about forgiveness, betrayal, reconciliation. So your question was, do I think that couples or marriages can survive betrayal or infidelity? So my real quick answer is yes, but it's not that simple. Um, there is a lot of work that goes into that. And let me just say this, forgiveness is such hard work. It really is, because it requires you to forgive not only the person that did the betrayal, but it requires you to forgive yourself. Um, so we get into these relationships and we get into these marriages, and we don't really like to have those difficult conversations about child rearing, finances, morals, values, belief systems. I think we're so caught up in the muckety muck of in the beginning of relationships that sometimes we don't have these difficult conversations, right? So we don't pay attention to people's patterns. We don't pay attention to people's past. And I'm not saying that we should judge people by their past. No, 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 no. But I am saying that we should be cognizant of it. So um, betrayal is so deep, because you got to understand, we get into these relationships, or we get into this marriage, and we have this schema, this idea of our spouse or our partner, and when they violate that trust or that betrayal, it is powerful, because it says to me, like, not only now do I have to do this workaround in my brain, now that I see you different, I have to see you differently. You're forcing me to see you differently. You know what I mean? So not only do I have to kind of reprogram myself as to how I see you, I gotta reprogram how I see myself, right? Because there's this internalization piece that happens when you're betrayed. You get to you start questioning yourself, like, okay, oh my gosh, like, um, is there something wrong with me? And 9 times out of 10, there isn't anything wrong with you, but you're so caught up in, you know, um, the betrayal and the fact that someone so close to you and who you love with so much force, so much power can do this to you, then it's like, I must be gullible. There must be something wrong with me. But what I want to say to the person who does the offending and the person who's offended, you got to be willing to do the work. If you're not willing to do the work, then you guys need to consider something else. You got to consider, this is not going to work. Let me say this to the person who's done the offending. You don't get to dictate to the person that you hurt or you betrayed when they get over it. So many times, the person who did the offending is saying to the person that they hurt, is like, oh, that happened years ago, or that happened months ago, you should be over it by now. No, 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 no. You don't get to dictate that, because you created the situation. So understand this, there's going to be triggers. There's going to be, and those triggers may be a song, a scent, a smell, or, a season, a picture, or something, you know what I mean, that triggers the time frame of that hurt and that betrayal, you know. So understand that there is going to be triggers. There may be triggers for the rest of your marriage, until death do you apart, or the duration of the relationship. And to the person who's been offended or betrayed, you got to understand, yes, you have to do the work too. Not only have to do the work to forgive yourself and your partner, but you have to do the work to understand that every chance you get, you can't toss that into their face. You can't throw it in their face. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I said it's such hard work, and people want to reconcile, but they don't want to do the work. And speaking to my believers that have a relationship with God, I'm a true believer in testimony that only God can heal the matters of the heart. So sometimes it is going to be that day in and day out prayer to ask God to heal your heart, because if you're not healed from the inside, and you don't address the internalization that you're doing from the rejection and the betrayal, um, it's going to bleed out into the marriage, into the relationship. So um, when you zone out sometimes, or when you get triggered or whatever, you're going to respond. And so that's what I'm saying. You have to be willing to do the work. And it's not about like not having the triggers, because I remember, it was told to me, you can't, if you're triggered, then that means you're not, no. It's what you do with those triggers. If you're triggered, you have to know how to effectively manage those. So get yourself a life coach, a relationship coach. Get yourself a therapist, or someone, a strong support system, because you're going to need it. So that's what I mean by doing the work. So to answer the question, can the reconciliation happen? Absolutely. And to the person that did the offending, understand that trust has to be rebuilt. So you don't get to, again, not number one, dictate when when the person that you hurt or you love has just, you don't get to dictate them getting over it and when they should get over it. But the way that you build trust and establish trust again is by being transparent, having effective, open, and honest communication or whatever, and having some integrity, something that you clearly lacked when you made a bad choice. So can it work? Can you reconcile? Absolutely. But I think people don't understand how devastating the betrayal is, because there's a loss of comfortability, there's a loss of security. There's something to be said when you can, and let me speak it from a wife or a woman's perspective. There's something to be said when I can lay comfortably in my husband's arms or on his chest and be comfortable and feel safe and secure. Women want to feel safe and secure. So not just financially. So let's be clear, because a lot of us is getting our own bag. But I want to be able to understand that this man, this husband, has my back. Mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. I can trust that he won't violate when he's out there and there is temptation. That I can trust him to make sound decisions that won't jeopardize what we've established, our bond, our covenant. I can talk about this as a whole nother conversation, but see, listen, people say marriage is nothing but a piece of paper. No, it's a covenant. It's a covenant under God. Contracts are made to be broken, not a covenant. Okay. So, and that's a whole nother topic, but yes, reconciliation can happen, but both parties have to be willing to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, then you need to look at, okay, this is not going to work, and go your separate ways.